You know, in the grand, sprawling story of humanity, there's this one chapter that feels, well, it almost feels like a myth. A time when a massive empire, famous for its unstoppable armies, supposedly just laid down its weapons and decided to choose peace. Not for a year, not for a decade, but for centuries.
I mean, think back to any history class you ever took. It's kind of like a highlight reel of conflict, right? The Peloponnesian War, the Punic Wars, the Hundred Years' War. It really feels like the human story is just one battle after another.
It's a nice thought, isn't it? That maybe, just maybe, tucked between all those chapters on fighting, there are these incredible stories of harmony. But here's a twist. What if one of history's greatest stories of peace was actually built on a foundation of unbelievable violence?
Now, this isn't just some hypothetical question. This is the central claim of one of the most famous eras in all of history, the Pax Romana, the Roman peace, a time when an empire, literally legendary for its legions, supposedly ushered in 2 entire centuries of calm and stability.
Welcome to the Chronicler's Desk. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on this legendary piece. We're going to explore the so-called Golden Age it created, and then we're going to ask a really simple but really crucial question. Who paid the price for it?
So, what exactly was the Pax Romana? On the surface, I mean, wow, it's one of the most impressive achievements in political history. An era so stable, it literally became the benchmark for peace for thousands of years to come.
Let's just look at the timeline for a second. It officially kicks off in 27 BCE with Emperor Augustus. He's the guy who finally put an end to the bloody civil wars that were tearing the Roman Republic apart. And it lasts all the way to 180 CE. That's over 200 years of supposed tranquility across an empire that stretched from Britain all the way to the Middle East.
And this is the story we all know, this golden age, where trade just exploded on all those newly built Roman roads. The economy was booming, and if you were inside the heart of the empire, there was this sense of security and order that was totally unprecedented. It was, by pretty much all accounts, a massive success.
But then, you have to ask the question that changes everything. Because when you're standing at the center of power, the world looks a whole lot different than it does when you're out on the edges. And believe me, the edges of the Roman Empire tell a very, very different story.
So, okay, let's flip the coin. Let's look at the other side of the story. We're about to deconstruct this whole idea of a universal peace because for millions and millions of people living under Roman rule, this era was anything but peaceful.
Look at this number. 1 million. That's the estimated death toll from just one conflict, the First Jewish-Roman War. A war that happened right in the middle of this so-called Roman peace. And we're not talking about a minor skirmish here. This was a brutal, absolutely devastating war.
And this quote from historian Brent Shaw, man, it just gets right to the heart of it. The Roman peace wasn't some kind of negotiated harmony. It was a peace that was imposed by force. The unity and safety that people felt at the center of the empire, that often came at the direct cost of extreme violence out on the fringes. Peace was for the winners. For everyone else, it was subjugation.
And that war wasn't some isolated incident, not even close. This table shows 3 major revolts just in Judea, all during the Pax Romana. You've got the Kitos War, the Bar Kokhba Revolt. I mean, together, these conflicts led to the deaths of nearly 2 million people. That's a staggering number that just completely shatters the narrative of a peaceful empire. So how in the world did this myth of a universal peace survive all this violence? Well, it's through a concept scholars call epistemicide. It sounds complicated, but it's simple. It's the deliberate erasure of a people's knowledge, their stories, their entire perspective. See, Rome didn't just win on the battlefield. It won the battle of memory by silencing the voices of those it crushed. It made sure that its version of peace was the only one history remembered. And that right there is the whole point. Rome wrote its version of history, but the truth, well, the truth was still there, just waiting to be found. And uncovering those hidden stories, questioning the simple narratives we're all told, that's the whole reason we do what we do here. If you believe that work is as important as we do, help us continue the search by liking, subscribing, and hitting that little bell for more. Now, this whole idea of an imposed peace, it didn't die with the Roman Empire. Not at all. In fact, if we just look around at our own world, we can see its echoes everywhere. They might look different, but they're built on a very similar logic of power and control.
Just check out this comparison. The Pax Romana was peace through domination. It was basically, do what we say or our legions will crush you. Simple as that.
After 1945, we entered an era of nuclear peace, which is really just peace through fear. The superpowers didn't fight each other directly because they knew it would lead to mutually assured destruction. So yeah, it's an absence of war, but it's a peace built on a terrifying threat, not on any kind of mutual understanding.
There's another modern idea, the liberal peace, the theory that countries that trade with each other won't go to war. This got famously simplified into the McDonald's hypothesis. But that whole theory came crashing down in 1999 when NATO bombed Belgrade, a city that had 7 McDonald's restaurants. The reality is, peace through trade? It's complicated. It really only works between equals. When those trade relationships are unbalanced, they can actually create resentment and hierarchy, making conflict more likely, not less.
What all of this shows us is that getting to peace is way more complex than just stopping a fight. It really forces us to ask what we actually mean when we even use the word peace. Is it just the silence after a battle is over? Or is it something much, much deeper?
But let's be super clear here. The point of all this is not to be cynical. The lesson is not that peace is impossible. It's that we have to be incredibly precise about what kind of peace we're actually aiming for. And this leads us to a much more powerful idea, a just peace. Now, this isn't just the absence of conflict, which, as we've seen, can just be imposed by the powerful on the weak. No, a just peace is defined by the presence of something, justice, for every single person. It's a state of harmony where relationships are fair and equitable, not built on domination or fear.
Which leaves us with the ultimate question, doesn't it? The Roman model, peace through power, was a brutal illusion for millions. So if that model's flawed, and if real harmony requires more than just shared markets or shared fears, what does it actually take to build a real, lasting peace that includes everyone, not just the powerful? What does that world even look like?